I am making a second video for midterm one. I'm sorry, today is Friday and your midterm's next week. I don't know if I'll see you in tutoring before midterm one, but I just found, after all of you have been asking me all these questions about midterm one, me going like, I don't really remember, I found some notes that I made for myself. I'm a very fast typer. Often I'll type things, thoughts, and then I'll just forget I ever wrote them because I type so fast. So, humble brag. Humble brag? Just bragging. I'm bragging. Okay. So I have three things to say. I don't know how long this video will be. But okay. First, I want to answer a question about the relationship between lab and lecture tests. Two, I want to talk about what you should be studying so far as we end week 6 and enter week 7. And three, talk about midterm 1. And midterm 1 has a lot of stuff in it. So, first, I've been asked many times, does he test lab material in the lecture tests? The answer is no. He only tests you what is either in his lecture notes or in his lecture coming out of his mouth. Those are what you are tested on. Lab material can help you understand some of lecture material sometimes, and just like the textbook is great for clarity, but he doesn't test from the book, the lab material is the same way. It's just augmenting your understanding, kind of doing its own thing as well. So that's one. Don't worry about lab material being on a lecture test. Second, okay, so I had mentioned before and many times that if you are studying at the rate that he is lecturing, you are way too slow and you are behind. You are so behind. Him lecturing is just what he chooses to do in class every couple days. What you are responsible for understanding is massive, and he's going really deep into the earlier stuff because that's what he chooses to do. At this point, you should be familiar with the basic concepts and ideas in the notes for homeostasis, basic chemistry, biochemistry, plasma membrane, which is a very important section, transport, organelles, weird word, muscle physiology, neurophysiology, reflex physiology, and since we're entering the 7th week for LACC, autonomic nervous system. These are all the sections that, to be on track to have success in this class in and into the final, you should be familiar with the autonomic nervous system. I'm guessing that you're not there. I get it, midterm 1's about to hit. You want to focus and make sure you ace that. Great. The minute that's over, open up your notes, watch crash course videos, like at least one 10-minute video on each of these sections, just to like get into it. Because this is the end of any time you can be like, oh, how does my oxygen get into my cells? Well, it just happens. Like it absorbs. No longer in your life is that answer good enough, because in this class you get to find out specifically the mechanisms in play in our body so that oxygen gets exchanged into our cells via this and that and the other thing. Like, I don't know, I already passed the class. I don't have to revisit this until you have to revisit it. But that's the specificity to which you are going to be learning this material. You may not need to get that deep in your early studying, but up through neuro and muscle and reflex and autonomic, you should at least be able to understand the notes enough to go, okay, I'm going to need to know some things about this and that. Oh, there's something having to do with that cell. Okay, that's a thing. Just know the things. Know that things are coming. Okay. And 3, finally, we're 4 minutes in. Midterm 1. Okay. I want you to get the highest grade you want. I want for you whatever you're hoping for. So, I'm going to say this. This is very important. I will actually write down the time that I start this. 4 minutes and 40 seconds in. Everything I tell you is for my semester, which was last year. So he may have slowed down. So not everything I'm about to say may apply to midterm 1. If what I'm saying doesn't even feel familiar by the time the test comes around, it'll probably be for midterm 2. But just know that I did observe these things as stuff he tested me on for our midterm one. All right? And then I already sent out the study guide. If you're watching this but didn't actually receive that, like if somebody else passed this video on to you, ask them for the study guide. I emailed them. Okay. Oh, so the study guide was how I studied. I got an A. I got over 100% because I also got some of the extra credit correct. I still got things wrong, and some stuff still kind of stumped me, and I got lucky. You know, it's always nice when you get lucky. So the notes I wrote to myself, a lot of them were weaknesses of ways my study guide didn't prepare me for the test. So that study guide still holds true. It's just this is other stuff. So I've separated my notes I found into regrets, definitions, observations of stuff he tested on, and 5 sections: successes and test tips. All right, 5 sections. Get ready. I'll also paste this in the description, and maybe in the email I sent out. I don't know. Maybe I should have just written this. Why am I recording a video? Okay. Regrets. I wish I had studied the functions for stuff like proteins, enzymes, and minerals. So I focused on what they were. I didn't focus on how they were useful, in case you understand the difference. I regretted not studying examples of pathologies. For example, hyperplasia. I had no idea what that was, but it was in the notes. I confused atomic particles when reading questions. So if he's talked about electrons, neutrons, protons, I hadn't gotten clear enough on those. Now, in the definition section, electronegativity, I understood the concept of it, but not the actual definition of the word. Right? Electronegativity, how along the periodic table of elements, things over here steal electrons more, and the ones over here give them away or something like. And so I understood the concept of that and the geography of the table, but I didn't really nail what that word truly meant. And the words ionic and isotonic throw me off when it comes to ions. Oh yeah, like isotonic and ionic, while I don't even think are related to the same thing, but just all the onics and isos and the ands and the cats, all those bits and pieces that kept being applied to different concepts started to really throw me off. So that was something for me. Observations. This was a juicy section. Listen up. He didn't ask about evolution or natural selection. I don't know if it's the same for your test, but after all that time spent on it, I was like, really? You didn't even ask one question about that for our class, really? He asked a lot about chemistry, bonds, and what it means for their polarity and electronegativity. He spent many questions on basics of human life. So there's a whole list, right? There's the what needs for an organism to stay alive, and then he goes into the needs for human life. So please recognize that those sections in your notes are different. So he seems to have spent a lot on the specifics of human life. He tests on what these substances do. Again, just like the enzymes and things, I hadn't paid attention to their functions, how they're useful in our body. So substances and what they do. He doesn't quote himself in his tests. I can't rely on pattern recognition or familiar phrasing. So in class, he would say, I don't know, you get used to, you hear his voice in your head and like how he says stuff. He is cold on the test. It is like a textbook on the test. And that felt a little jarring for me. Know what words mean. He will want to make sure you understand deeply these concepts and the role each word plays in each concept. Yeah, you know, he's probably already said it, that he wants you to know the definitions of things. Just like electronegativity, I didn't know what it meant. And these notes, of course, were for me to do well in future tests. I only noticed one hint. I wrote that down. So, you know how sometimes you take a test and you don't know the answer to a question, and then 5 questions later, part of the question gives you the answer that you kind of clues you in to the previous question that you didn't know? Yeah, that I only noticed one element of that. Every question on his test is just an island, completely separate from any other question. He's a precise test writer. Lots of questions on physics and chemistry. This is honestly, even though these are scary departments like physics, chemistry, the ideas he's giving you here isn't just for his own amusement. We are going to use these again and again, so pay attention to them. Master these ideas. He asked about percentages. I don't even remember percentage of what. I don't remember. Maybe percentages of elements in the world or elements in our body, something. But he asked about percentages, whatever that means. He asked the temperature in Celsius. Like, what's the human temperature? What's the basic human temperature, but in Celsius? So that, I was like, oh no, I don't care. But he did ask that. So my successes were... I was glad I underlined key words or phrases. So in each question, mark up that test. You get paper with all the questions, and that's yours to just draw on all you want, and then there's the Scantron. So you can mark up. So I was glad that I underlined any key vocabulary words that he defined in class. Anything that I was afraid I might, because I will... If I'm not sure immediately of the answer, I will just draw a little box or a question mark next to the question and then just move on. Like I just go through everything I'm certain of and then take my time with stuff that I'm not certain with. I'm not going to sit around freaking out because I don't know something. I'm going to move on and go back. That's my tactic. One hand, he asked about percentage, Celsius, oh yeah, I marked it. Okay, successes. I underlined stuff. I marked up stuff on the test. Oh, I draw a lot. I do draw a lot on tests. Kind of like things like he's drawn on the board or a periodic table. I'll kind of just sketch stuff out because I'm more visual. Oh, and I was glad that I didn't erase anything. Once I put things, once I fill out the Scantron, I'm done with that question. And that helped me a lot. Test tips. Okay, so I told you this during tutoring hours one time. None of the above comes up a lot. I think one of his tests, it was on every question. So if you rely on just thinking that you can narrow it down, sure, but that none of above is always going to be there to haunt you. So keep that in mind. He is specific in his questions. I already told you that. He tests on comprehension. This is in the wrong category, but I wrote to myself. Oh, never mind. I already told you about that. I copied it instead of cutting it. Okay. That's it. I also found a list of stuff that I had to remind myself to bring to my desk because on test day, he makes you leave your backpack at the front of the room. You bring everything you need to your desk. So, like, I wear reading glasses. I need them to be able to, not have a headache during my test. So, I'd always forget something in my backpack, and that's awkward once the test starts to have to go back to your bag, and then it looks like you're cheating or something. So I made a list. So mine is calculator, glasses, an eraser, pencils, Scantron, a sweater, water, and a tissue. Because for some reason, if I get cold on a test, I have to blow my nose and put on a sweater. So I always want a tissue. I want my water because then I'll get dry and stressed out and I need water. And so many people will grab their Scantron all proud of themselves and forget their pencil. So anyway, so eraser, yeah, I think that's it. I just remember to... And as I said to people in tutoring, this test is just the first test of 5 tests in this class. Really, a lot of what he talks about for this test, you're going to use so much in future tests. It's not about getting an A on this test. It's about mastering this material, being able to talk about it, being able to teach your friends about this material, because these are some basic, really cool stuff that will Well, one, be helpful if you have to take any other science classes, which I am, and it is helpful. But also, it's going to make your A's in future tests better. So he drops the first one. If you totally bomb this, that's okay. You'll learn where you need to grow. But the point is being able to handle the rest of the material. So this is like your midterm one is like before the plane takes off. So just get your ducks in a row, breathe, and you'll be okay. I think that's it. Hope you're all doing well. If you see this video and you've passed on other material to some of your classmates, please pass this video along, since it may only be 3 or 4 days before you have your midterm. And I want everyone to get it. I'd feel bad because I didn't find this list until late. So that's it. Okay, your tutor Sandra signing off. See you on Tuesdays from 1:30 to 4:30 at Science Room 105 for the spring semester.